So I recently have been experimenting with using AI to summarize my notes, and I have some interesting things to report. First of all, the problem is that I use my notes as a way to capture my stream of consciousness for the most part because I have ADHD. So half the problem I'm trying to solve with my notes is to keep the ideas that come to me from flitting away and just disappearing. I have a lot of ideas that if I don't record them immediately, I won't remember them later. It's very sort of ethereal and dreamlike. And I find that is doubly true on psychedelics. I have my best ideas on psychedelics. And also, I cannot remember anything after the trip is done. I have to record it while the trip is happening. So this is a problem that I've been solving with continuous stream of consciousness recording. And I found that recording things as voice to text works best because it's already transcribed. So I don't have to worry about, I guess there's a lot of emotional context that could be captured if it was a voice note and then I transcribed it. But there isn't an easy way for me to transcribe and then access also the voice recording. So at the end of the day, it would still just be a transcription because that's the most accessible thing. I can read back through a transcription really quickly or just scan through it. So I'm capturing ideas that I'll forget if I don't record them immediately. And this works fine as long as I'm able to go back through my notes and edit and organize everything. And another thing that's weird about that is that if I edit and organize everything too quickly, what I find is that I'll think everything is too important immediately. Everything that I recorded today, if I go back through and edit and organize that, I will over organize and over categorize. It's usually there's a bit after a bit of time has passed, any ideas that I have today, if they're still relevant in a week, usually it will be super clear why and how they are still relevant. And I'll have a bunch of signals about what ideas that I talked to myself about a week ago are still worth thinking about in a week. And that's even more true in 6 months. I would say the number of ideas that pass, like that I still think of as relevant after a week, is maybe 70%. But after 6 months, it's probably more like 20%. And after a year, maybe it goes on 15%. I don't know. It just it gets steadily less and less. There's a lot of ideas that don't pass the test of time or don't pan out logically or just different perspectives that I'm trying to capture in the moment because I'm not sure and I'm trying to think out all angles of the problem and record it and then come back and look at it later. So if I go back and organize too quickly, I usually find that I'm over organizing, doing too much categorization and spending a lot of extra effort. If I wait too long to do it, what I find happens is that if I go and organize something that I wrote more than a month ago, often I have already sort of naturally taken all the best ideas forward, and what happens is that it just takes a really long time to go through and delete everything. And sometimes there'll be little nuggets, one-liners, and things that I want to keep. But for the most part, it's just reading back through and deleting a lot of stuff. And if I haven't organized anything more than 3 months, usually I'm just going through and just automatically deleting 70% of it. When I did my big note organization a couple of months ago, I deleted probably 40, I don't know, it's probably more like 60% of everything I had written in the last 2 years that I hadn't organized for sure. And there's a bunch of stuff that I had organized that I know that if I had opened it and looked at it, I probably would have deleted it too. So, but that's what I do is that what I do is I fold things under a heading. So it's just I gather all the thoughts and then I do a one-liner description for the heading. And then that one-liner description becomes the thing that I remember. And if I really want to look at the specific thoughts that I was having that day about that one-liner description, I can look at it. But for most part, I never open them. I just look at the one-liner description. I remember the context of what I was talking about for the most part, and I proceed. And so that's my process. So I was feeding all this to Gemini. And what I found is that Gemini has no context for what I'm working on. And so Gemini does a great job of summarizing what I am saying. But the problem is there's a lot of context clues missing. And the notes are made for myself. I remember the context. I remember what things are important and what things aren't. And there's a lot of things where Gemini has no idea what I'm talking about. So it's doing a summarization of what I'm talking about, but from an outside perspective without any contextual knowledge. And also there's another problem where a lot of times the voice to text tool that I'm using just doesn't work correctly and it will mistranscribe a word here or there, or sometimes it will actually just say what it thinks I meant to say instead of the exact words that I said, which can be kind of frustrating sometimes. So, but usually I don't correct those mistakes because I will remember the context if I go back through and look at it, so I don't worry about it. But it also takes a ton of time to go back through and edit all my old shit. And so what I find is that I generally don't do it. I will take 2 weeks of notes, or I'll take a week of notes, and then I will go back through and edit and organize. And if for some reason I don't get to it that week, then sometimes it waits until a month and then I'll go back through and organize. But if anything passes that month barrier, I usually just never get to it. And then it becomes part of the flotsam and jetsam that I come back to 6 months or a year later. And oh shit, this is so old and so outdated. And there's so many things that I hear that I'm not going to use anymore. I just delete most of it. And a lot of time that's okay because there's a lot of things where it's like I'm not talking about relevant, concrete things that I've ironed out. A lot of it's just like me ideating, just talking about things that could be different perspectives and stuff. And so a lot of it is just like stuff I was whiteboarding at the time and now it's garbage and I don't need it anymore. And that's fine. But so I was trying to figure out how do I give this to an AI so that AI could actually help me be my thought and help partner, I guess. And I was talking with Gemini about it. I was like, how do I take this stream of consciousness stuff and give it to you in such a way that you can actually make sense of it with me? And basically what I said is that you just have to give me more context. You have to explain all the things that you're talking about to me, and then I'll know and I'll be able to keep up with you. And as long as you talk about it to me, I'm another person, and or add tags in your notes, verbally just say, here's a tag, and then the thing I'm talking about. This is in reference to that thing. And then I realized, oh shit, AI could totally be a partner working with me. But the problem, I'm a little bit uncomfortable with this. I might actually try it. I'm not sure. But the problem is that I will have to literally share everything with the AI. The AI will be in my head the same way I am. And that's like feels really scary because I talk with you and I talk with my friend Katya and I talk with my friend Dev and I talk with my friends Daniel and Brandon about my work pretty damn openly. But also, I provide context when I'm talking with them about it so that they don't have to hear all of the stream of consciousness. I edit it down and I do brief explanations. I talk with them like normal people. And the stream of consciousness stuff is very raw and it feels like very vulnerable to be sharing that with an AI. But I think I should try it. I think I'm just like, this is the first time I've ever actually thought that I might seriously use an AI tool to help me try and do some of this stuff. I think I need to try it. So I'm going to probably do some research to figure out, I guess, privacy for each of the different AI tools and then try and find the best one and then do my best to load in some context, maybe for a specific problem or situation, and then see if it can help me be a thinking partner. And if it can, then that would be a huge help in my work because easily I spend probably 70% of my time thinking out loud and but it's easily 30% of my job every day would be to organize my notes. And that's like it's something that I don't need to do it on a day-to-day basis, but I definitely need to do it on a week-to-week basis. And that means that every week I have probably 1 to 2 days of full-time work just organizing my notes. And that's a huge amount of time that if I could offload that AI could do it, then that would massively speed things up. Also, like, there's a weird sort of element where I toy with the idea of just not ever actually organizing my notes. But the problem with that is that there are still gems and tiny little observations that I make here and there that are really good and worth saving. And I'm glad that I remember them and have them saved and organized. And those things I think would often be lost to me if I never went back through and organized my notes or looked at any of the stuff that I wrote. And so I want to save those things.